Why is exercise so important?
Well, obviously, exercise is important for physical health. That's very well established. Everybody knows it's good for the heart and various other aspects of the body, but also increasing evidence is now showing how it's beneficial for mental health. What is good for the body is also good for the mind. We've obviously all heard the saying, healthy body, healthy mind, and it doesn't ring true stronger for anything than exercise, really, which is, shown to have multiple different benefits right across the body and the brain.
I did see, I think it was actually in an article by Simon, there was a really interesting quote that if exercise were a pill, it would be prescribed to every patient by a doctor. I was hoping that you could uncover some of the mental health benefits that people may not be immediately aware of. Because when we say fitness, people think, oh, I don't care about a six-pack. But I imagine there's so many more, particularly mental health benefits.
Yeah, physical fitness is a lot more than just having a six-pack, obviously.
Yeah.
Keeping the body in shape is one side benefit, but really the major reason why we should all be exercising is also for our mental health. And this applies to people, with good mental health, as even if you're fine in all respects, then it still, helps to lift your mood on a daily basis. It improves your actual brain functioning and the way your brain works. And then also for people with poor mental health, or what we call mental illness, it's been now shown to be, effective across a broad range of psychiatric conditions. Obviously, a lot of the attention that we see in the media is given towards depression, because that's one of the most common mental disorders. But also, exercise is beneficial for anxiety, for people with addictive disorders, for severe mental illnesses such as schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And there's more and more evidence about the ways that different forms of exercise can help with these conditions.
And so I think when people, let's say they're into exercise, they might delve a little bit deeper. They start to hear terms like endorphins, cortisol. I saw in an article with Simon, he mentioned something called BDNF. Why exactly is it that those chemicals help?
Well, there's multiple neurobiological pathways through which exercise benefits the brain. We've all heard of the common ones, but more recently there is more evidence around BDNF, which is the primary neurotrophic hormone in the brain. This is a chemical that runs throughout the entire body, actually, which is responsible for producing new neurons and keeping the brain in good shape. And this is released when we exercise, when we engage in physical activity, particularly aerobic exercise. Releases our BDNF almost immediately, even from just as little as one session. You can boost your levels of BDNF from exercising. So that's obviously another benefit. Also, exercise, new studies have shown, again, just as much as one session of intense exercise can activate the endocannabinoid system in the brain, which is one of the major reward mechanisms within the brain that makes us feel good. Yeah, and the BDNF is partly attributed to the feel-good effect of exercise, but then it's also very important for the brain benefits of exercise. Like our own researchers have shown how maintaining high levels of physical activity actually stops the brain decline that occurs with aging, because it helps stimulating the new neurons in the brain. And a lot of this is linked to increasing BDNF levels through aerobic activity. So it's not just about the mental health, but also the mental function.
And so if someone did want to start exercising more, are there a particular number of sessions they should be averaging per week? And is there an amount of time that those sessions should be?
It should be more about really what works for you. I would encourage people to try and engage in the types of activity that, really get the heartbeat going, that feels like it's increasing your fitness. Things that actually would be considered a workout are going to be more beneficial than low intensity activities. That said, low intensity activities are still better than nothing. If that's all you feel like you're able to do is go for a steady stroll, that is obviously still far preferable to complete sedentary behaviour, which is a thing that's assumed to have the negative and detrimental effects on your psychological well-being by becoming a bit of a couch potato, so to speak. It's much better to be going for a short walk, or even better, engaging in some type of fitness activity. Now, the types of exercise that you do is not very important. There's been lots of research showing that jogging works just as well as cycling, works just as well as weight training. Whatever works for you, really, in terms of a good fitness workout. You can do it as a group, you can do it as an individual. There's lots of different things that we could suggest. We can go into more detail on those if you like. But yeah, basically, there's just kind of like for physical health, it would be impossible to say who is the best athlete in the Olympics. Is it the runners, or is it the swimmers, or is it the rowers? They're all super fit, just in different ways. All different types of exercise make you just as good as an athlete. It's similarly, all different types of exercise are just as good for the body or for the brain in this case. So yeah, it just pick one that works well for you.
So when we are kids, we don't even think about any of this stuff. It's just that tree looks good fun to climb. I'm going to go climb it. But I imagine there's a lot of people who will be watching this who have tried over and over again and they just haven't been able to get exercise to stick. In your experience, are there any things that you've found, whether it's yourself or in patients, that have allowed people to actually incorporate exercise so it sticks and they do it 2 or 3 times a week?
Yeah, there's kind of 3 things that I could recommend in regards to keeping your exercise up. The first one is also the most obvious, which is find one that you enjoy, which we just kind of spoke about. If you feel like, time's passing quickly while you're doing it, you might be getting your heart beating, you might be getting a sweat on without even noticing, just because you're enjoying taking part in that activity, then that's obviously the best one for you and something you'll find it much easier to stick at than forcing yourself to do something that you don't like. The second tip kind of goes against the first one, which is don't put too much pressure on yourself to enjoy exercise. Some people, there might be certain days or certain times in your life where really the actual exercise sessions, you might not be getting a lot from it, but do try and, exert that self-discipline. Do try and make yourself go along to do your regular exercise regime wherever possible, because you can experience the benefits of exercise even without the enjoyment aspect in the session. The long-term benefits and how you're going to feel afterwards, how you're going to feel the next day, the next week, if you're keeping up these exercise regimes, go beyond just the session itself. So don't force yourself to enjoy something or feel like you shouldn't be doing it just on the basis of that. And then the third tip is, obviously, we're social creatures, and if you can involve other people, even if you're not speaking to them during it, say if you're going for a run with somebody else, or the park run now, for instance, or the Couch to 5K programs kind of link people in, doing something that kind of connects us socially in our exercise. Again, it'll make it easier for you to keep it up, and finding somebody to be accountable with, a training partner for the gym who's going to call you up, on the days when you're not feeling like it, and give you that motivational boost. Those are like the main things that I'd recommend in terms of exercising. And also, I think specifically for your kind of target audience, is to remember that music can be quite powerful, and depending on what types of music that you're into, you might need to change that up a little bit around your sessions. There's been lots of studies showing that quite upbeat and high tempo music helps you actually feel in the mood for physical activity, which obviously makes sense. So even if that's not particularly your taste, try and find some that are for the sake of your sessions. If you're feeling like that lack of motivation, it might give you a little bit of a boost.
For the people who may be struggling with mental illness, who are barely getting out of bed in the morning, is there anything that they can do in particular to help them?
Yeah, I'd say start small. Maybe that's about picking a lower intensity activity, or some people find it easier to actually pick a high intensity activity and just do it once a week at first. Maybe you want to go for a short walk every day, just for 10 minutes. Just make sure you get out and about, go walk down to the shops, do whatever you want to do, just in a low intensity way quite frequently. Or alternatively, if that's not for you, that might be against what you're into, but you might be able to force yourself to do one gym session a week, say, where you go for 45 minutes and train really hard, and that's done then for the week. And you can build that up over time to 2 times, to 3 times, to 4 times. But really, you don't need to overdo it to experience the mental health benefits of exercise. Just like the physical health benefits of exercise, really, it's only up to a certain threshold. Once you're healthy and fit, you don't have to do tons more to become super healthy, to extend your life, it has benefits for the heart and everything like that, regardless of Olympic athlete standards, so to speak. It's the same for the brain. You just need to try to aim towards that quite moderate level of physical activity and fitness in order to obtain what would be the maximum benefits. So start small with the aim of building up to that. We're going around in circles, but again, involving your friends, involving people that you can be accountable to, people who support you on the days when you don't feel like doing it, or the weeks when you don't feel like doing it, just to try and help you, initiate that activity.
Yeah.
And try to remember also, a lot of the time people actually struggle getting there and starting. But trying to remember that often when people are actually out there exercising, remember in those moments it's probably not as bad as what you're thinking when you're sat there in your room, in your bed or whatever.
Yeah.
When you're actually doing it, it's always actually easier. So just get started and give it a go. And if you want to stop, then stop. But you'll probably find it's okay once you get going.
Yeah, and I imagine for those people in particular as well, having the buddy system will be super helpful. Just having that friend saying, okay, maybe let's not go to the gym, but let's walk in the park and we can talk.
Yeah, 100%. And also, if you're experiencing mental health problems, a lot of that is often linked to social isolation or feeling lonely as well. So you kind of, if you're doing exercise socially, you're getting the physical activity benefits and then also the social support benefits, which is just as important as exercise for mental health. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and you'll experience twice the benefits, along with being more likely to keep it up. Yeah.
If we take the music maker for example, their schedules are all over the place. They might have a 9 to 5 job, and then they get home, they're making music in the evening, then they've got a gig at 11 p.m. on the weekend, then they have a session on Sunday. Is there anything they can do? And you briefly touched on it earlier, where it's just any exercise is good. But let's say they're traveling, they're on tour, they're in hotels, they're all over the place. Is there any type of exercise where they can get their most bang for their buck? Maybe they've got 10 or 20 minutes a day, and they want to stay fit, but their schedule is hectic.
Yeah. Well, people might have heard of high intensity interval training. That's gaining more evidence. We've just published a review actually showing how that's beneficial for symptoms of depression in people with mental illness, and actually improves people's mood. And just that can be like as short as 1 minute bursts, 4 or 5 times. And whether you're doing that on like a bicycle in a hotel gym, or you can do like bodyweight exercises like press ups and lunges, doing like a little workout like that just to get your blood flowing, to get your heartbeat up, that can be just as beneficial in terms of mood for and also for physical fitness actually, in terms of just exercising quite intensely in short bursts, if that's something that you feel like you can do. But if there is a period of extreme disruption in your life, or you're going on holiday or something, it's important to remember that the benefits of exercise are really something, it's not just about that one session or that day to day, so much as the lifestyle of adopting it. And if there's a period where you just can't, you're either too exhausted, you're too busy, or you're doing other things, don't feel too bad about taking a little bit of time off from your training either. That'll never do anybody any harm, as long as you just know in the back of your head that you are trying to adopt this as part of a lifestyle thing overall. Then you can still get the benefits eventually, even if not that day or that week or whatever.
Yeah, and I think in general with a lot of these topics, it's as hard as it is, it's adopting that longer term view.
Yeah,
and trying to just be a bit more patient.
Yeah, it is difficult as well to do that.
So this is actually the final question, and we probably touched on it here and there throughout the other questions. But I would love if you could recommend, let's say these people have watched all the films, all of this video, and they are keen to just make a start. What would you recommend the first steps being to start, creating that healthier lifestyle?
That's a good question. For the first steps, yeah, let me think a little bit about that, because it does depend a lot on the type of person, really. But yeah, I'd say the first step, what I'd recommend to anyone who's trying to become more active, is have a think about things that they've enjoyed, physical activities that you're your own best expert, and physical activities that you've enjoyed in the past, or sports that you've been into, or times in your life when you've been adopting a certain physical activity regime. Try to think back to that in the past and give that another go. Often we all drop off eventually, even those of us that are quite dedicated to physical fitness and training have periods where we drop off. But just going back to something that you've done before, something that you feel familiar with, that worked for you in the past, that can be a really good starting point, even though it sounds really obvious for most people. Failing that, if you are receiving mental health care, you can often talk to your GP about local leisure centres and the physical activity initiatives that they have. They might have walking groups, sports groups, walking groups for different ages. Younger people might do the park run, older ages, steadier walking. Different types of sports. You can even get physical activity on referral, local gym memberships, perhaps having a talk to a personal trainer. Nowadays, more and more personal trainers are actually becoming aware of not just the body benefits of exercise, but are actually really interested in making the most of this mental health market, so to speak, and helping people with their mental health through physical training. So don't be shy about joining a gym and talking to a personal trainer on the basis of your mental health. Everybody's becoming more aware of that now, and people will be they're willing to help you and help you reap those benefits. So there's lots of different ways to get started, but starting with something that you feel comfortable with or have done in the past or could be recommended to you is probably the way to go.